December 17th, 1903. The Wright brothers fly 12 seconds and 120 feet in a contraption called the airplane. In so doing, they changed forever the way humankind would look to the sky. Now, 95 years later, aviation is a way of life. But its application in war is why we're here today. Welcome to Discovery Channel's 4th annual Father's Day Wings Marathon. I'm your host, Gwynne Dyer. This year, we look at a century of war. Join me on a trip through some of the bloodiest battles of the 20th century. From the Red Baron to the Battle of Britain, from the mountains of Afghanistan to the jungles of Vietnam, we look at the aircraft and the technology crucial to each war. From the clumsy bombing runs of the Great War to the laser-guided missile attacks over Baghdad, we'll also provide a backdrop that illustrates the evolution of technology. Thanks to the Wright brothers and their wheelless biplane named the Flyer, war suddenly had a new instrument with which to kill. So get on your flight suit and prepare to enlist in this extraordinary 15-hour marathon. In all, we'll present 16 incredible shows. When we come back, take a tour of a century of war. June 1914. Archduke Ferdinand's assassination ignites the world in war, a war dubbed the Great War. Fighting would drag on for almost 5 years and claim millions of lives. This was a war fought by soldiers on the ground. The role of the airplane was largely insignificant. Initially serving as scout and spy, by war's end, airplanes were functioning as simple bombers and dogfighters. Military leaders of the day had yet to fully appreciate the impact aviation could have in the theater of war. Biplanes and triplanes are the stars of the air, but some, like the German Dyer-1, are virtual flying coffins, as our first installment of this year's Father's Day Wings Marathon explains. The Second World War, the deadliest armed conflict of this century, all told more than 40 million lives lost. On land, at sea, and in the air, the Allied forces worked together to defeat Hitler's Third Reich. Some of the hardest fought battles were waged in the skies over Europe. Though German pilots dominated the skies in the beginning, the Allied air forces eventually won air supremacy. As the conflict wore on, warplanes evolved. In September 1944, German scientists ushered the world into the rocket age with the V-2. Hitler's scientists can also be credited with the development of the first jet-propelled plane, the Messerschmitt 262, though it was too late to have an effect on the air war. In the next 3 episodes, we'll look at a trio of Allied aviation icons: the Spitfire, the B-17 Flying Fortress, and the P-51 Mustang. They're but 3 of the vast array of aircraft that made an impact on the outcome of the war. First up, the pride of the Royal Air Force, the Spitfire. Dresden. The city was virtually Germany's safest air raid shelter. Beautiful, full of culture, it was virtually untouched by the ravages of war. In fact, Dresden lacked any military significance at all. But oddly, in the final days of World War II, the medieval city was targeted by British and American air forces. On the evening of February 13, 1945, RAF Lancaster bombers moved in and dropped thousands of tons of ordnance on the defenseless city. Dresden, now swollen to well over 1 million people by refugees from the Red Army, mostly women and children, was leveled. But the horror was not over. As night turned to day, waves of American B-17 flying fortresses flew over unchallenged and unleashed their payloads. Temperatures reached 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Molten asphalt flowed like water through the rubble. Incredibly, as the B-17s turned for home, American P-51 Mustangs swooped down and strafed the survivors. It became known as the firestorm in Dresden. It was rationalized at the time, but historians today agree it may have been simply an act of vengeance. Welcome back. Now that we've looked at 20th century fighters, you're ready to graduate to the heavyweights, warbirds whose missions leave shocking and devastating effects. Introducing the elite bomber class of the century. Join our panel of world experts and rank these mighty beasts. Can you pick the best of the best?
Airplanes, more than any other development, have changed.
There you are, the Discovery Channel.
They were born in the last year of World War I, and of all the roles wartime aircraft can play, attack planes have the toughest. Loaded with guns, rockets, and specialized bombs, the attack aircraft works to help ground forces take territory. The role of the attack pilot closely resembles that of the tank commander. Sound strange? Let's find out why in this final installment of our Wings Marathon.
Airplanes, more than any other development, have changed